manly men, manly men, manly men. Manly men, manly men.
Hey, and we're live.
Hi,
Woo! Hey, Ryan.
Lovely to see you.
Nice to see you too after such a long time. I had to jimmy a selfie stick.
Yes. I keep myself in the shot a little bit. Okay.
Okay. I can. It's kind of cutting the top of your head off. I don't know if you can maybe scooch down.
Scooch. I'll go like this.
There we go. Awesome. Yay! Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for agreeing to be on Instagram Live. I see there's
You're welcome.
a few people joining, so I'll just give them some time. It's been ages since I've actually seen you. This is so good. Yay for technology.
Yeah, I know. I don't even remember. How long has it been? Like 4 years? Or at least 4,
It
maybe.
feels a lot longer. It feels a lot longer. Yeah.
I mean, I've been at Hotel now 8 years, and time's flown by. So, yeah.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah, I've been with Arabella 3 years now, and before that I was, so almost about 7 years. Hey, Krishanda, Juanita, thanks for joining. I see Terry's joined. Hey, guys. Okay. So how have you been? How is it going for a Monday afternoon, sorry.
To be fair, it feels like any other day at the moment. You know, this lockdown has been incredibly difficult, obviously for everybody. I don't want to say my experience is more difficult than others, of course, because it isn't. But working in the hotel industry, which basically is dead at the moment, except for a couple examples. We're so busy. We work such long hours. A lot of sacrifices we make, and to go from that intensity to literally nothing in the space of a day or a couple of days, it's been really, really difficult. But you try to stay positive, and you have good days. You have some not so good days. Honestly, I've always found or thought of myself as a very positive person, very motivated to even without external motivation. But I've gone through serious waves of being fine for a couple of weeks, and then the next week it's really, really bad, and then you go up again and down. So it's a process, I guess, like anything else. You learn where you can and kind of just keep moving. I
agree. Actually, a friend of mine sent me a meme that said something about the Corona coaster. Because, like you said, some days you're up, I'm going to be productive, I'm going to be doing this. And then the next day you're like, okay, I'm over all this. Like myself, I signed up for a bunch of courses online. I downloaded about 6 books. I started baking and cooking, and then some days I'm just like, what, I don't.
Runs out eventually. Like, okay, I don't want to do anything today.
I'm just going to Netflix today, like binge watch an entire series, and that's also okay though. Like during this.
The thing for us, our experience in this country is a little different. We went into lockdown assuming, probably, wrongly, that it was going to be 3 weeks. So you buy alcohol, get yourself prepared. You think, okay, 3 weeks, maybe 4, we'll get back to work in a month or 2. Yeah. And then the first extension happened. Then the first 3 weeks I was exercising, doing courses every day, waking up at normal time, showering, putting on clothes, doing a normal sort of daily routine. Yeah. And then week 4, week 5, and it just goes right down. And that's okay. Getting yourself out of that little sort of ruts of no motivation had always been really tough. But what else can you do? Yeah. You can't sort of sit and wallow in sort of sadness and depression and desolation for weeks and weeks. I mean, you can, but it's not really a practical use of your time. So I've been trying to stay positive as I can. Yeah, because you live by yourself, hey? Yeah. So that must be really tough. Like, I'm thankful. I've always said to people, on my days off, I'm around so many people each day, sort of hundreds of people each day when I'm off. If I stay at home by myself and I see nobody, I order food, I nap in the afternoon. It's amazing. But that's like a 2 or 3 day sort of thing. After week 1, okay, you're like, I need people. And it's week, I don't even know how many, 90 something days now. We're on day 70 million thousand now. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So it's what I miss the most is physical contact with people. talking to Uber drivers, they kicked me out the car because I just keep wanting to talk to people longer.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So you talk to the cashier at the store longer than you should, and they kind of, hustle you along.
Next.
Contact, and yeah, it's crazy. So I miss that the most about lockdown. But I think we all agree it's been done for a good reason. There obviously had to be a phased approach out of it. You can't say, okay, we locked down for 5 weeks or whatever it is, and then the world's open again.
Yeah.
It can't happen that way. So you try to justify your feelings of being undermotivated and everything else with a possible positivity of getting back to work at some point. So that's been the struggle.
Shiman, I feel you. I think I've also learned to just take every day as it comes, and also just accept that even on those bad days, you're allowed to feel that way. Like, you're allowed to have a pity party, have your ice cream, and then tomorrow just try again. Like, it's totally okay. But I guess in my case also, it's been now 4 months of chocolate ice cream and cakes and whatever. So my uniforms don't fit me anymore, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm sort of concerned about when I need to put mine back on again, what's going to happen. But it's one of those things.
Cross that bridge.
We'll get through challenges on our own way, and there's no one who can say you've been doing it right or doing your own personal journey, I guess. So
for sure. I just want to, just for the people that have joined in the middle now that we have started discussing, I just want to reintroduce Ryan Van Zyl. I am so pleased to be chatting with Ryan. Ryan is the head concierge of the prestigious best address in the Cape, and that's for good reason, the Table Bay Hotel. He is also, and you're going to have to help me pronounce this, Les Clef d'Or member. Did I say that right? I'm not French.
Yeah, so the French, it's Les Clés d'Or. It's Les Clés d'Or.
Okay, what he said. The keeper of the
it means the golden keys, essentially. So what you see on our uniforms, if you travel, even in this country, there's quite a few of us now, but you will see at a concierge desk guys that have, or ladies that have double gold keys on their lapels, and that is the symbol of the association.
How to do this, look, don't confuse yourself with all these little denominations. You wait until I'm the best friend you ever had. Then you give me a tip so big, it feels like passing a kidney stone.
So that was actually going to be one of my later questions, but since we're doing intros, let's start with that. Because one of my questions was, so tell us about the association, the Les Clef d'Or Association. I just dubbed it. I said, you're the keeper of the double golden keys. And for good reason, because you are like, I remember working with you and you just knew where to get everything in Cape Town from everyone. Like, you are the go-to person for so many people, not just the guests. You seem to know where everything's at. So yeah, tell us a bit more for the people that are watching that do not work in hotels or the hospitality industry and have no idea about double keys, and what does it mean and what do you have to do to achieve that? Because I know it was quite a journey for you. You don't just, everybody just gets the keys, and like you said, there's only a few in South Africa head concierges that have this prestige. So tell us a bit more about that.
So the Association of the Golden Keys, it's basically a friendship and service sort of network, and to become a member you have to have, in this country at least, or we under the Great Britain Commonwealth Association, their rules, you have to be a concierge for 5 years, ideally in a 5-star hotel, have international experience and sort of the background in hotels. So you can't sort of come straight from like hotel school straight to concierge. You have to have had done sort of housekeeping, F&B, banking, have a good, well-rounded experience of concierge. And that's a plus to get you, in quicker. But that's just to be considered to apply. So you can't sort of go onto the website, apply, like getting a credit card, and then you get approved and you're done. Once you've met the requirements, you have to find 2 members, ideally outside of your network in your city or country, who will nominate you or propose you to become a member, and they are then in the future liable for your sort of conduct. So it's a sort of like a recommendation sort of system where I stand up for someone else, and I've done that to myself for 5 members in this country so far. So it's a wonderful thing. It's like you basically helping others sort of achieve more in their career, sort of prop them up, help them where you can, and basically they're a future example of what you were and what you stand for. So it's a wonderful association. In this country, we have 13 members. One of the members passed away just 2 days ago, unfortunately. But worldwide, it's over 4,000. But if you think of how many people work in hotels around the world, millions, to have only 4,000, 4,500 members, it's a very exclusive sort of club. And it really sort of speaks to the exclusivity and excellence that you need to have to achieve it. So it's not just, you've worked in a hotel as a concierge for a number of years and you will automatically get them. If you're not good enough, you don't have all the qualities that they look for, you won't get it. So it's quite a specific list of requirements that they have.
Do you have to go through sort of training or any exams before you can get
for that? No. What is required though is they look at your resume, your CV, very extensively, and every single reference on your CV is checked personally. Sometimes they check 2 people. They're very, very in depth. I mean, what they also do with new members the first year is that they call your hotel a couple times a year, a cold call, just to see, is that person still there, and ask you questions and kind of pretend to be a guest to test you, just to make sure that you are still living up to the rules. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different staff, and if I think back, maybe 50 people, 5 of them would be good enough to get the keys. And that doesn't that they're not great people, just that there's additional level of excellence and service that you need to achieve that. So it's specific for a reason, because they want to keep it as high as possible. So when international guests travel, they're guaranteed to get the perfect service.
That's really excellent. So that's quite poche, hey Ryan, your exclusive club there. No,
so what I explain to people, they kind of say, what can you relate it to in popular culture? I would say it's the same as Michelin stars offer restaurants. Golden Keys is that for concierge.
For concierges.
But yes, we all know amazing restaurants. Like in this country, for example, we don't have Michelin stars, but we have a lot of restaurants which are of that caliber, but maybe 5. Now, how many restaurants do we have? A couple 100,000. That's the level of difference in Golden Keys, essentially. So
a good way to relate. Yeah, a good way to relate that. I'm so blessed I've been able to work with 2 of you. The lady who has the Golden Keys, Lizelle. Was it Lizelle de Haas? She was at Maslow. When
you mentioned Lizelle. She's a very good friend of mine. We talk often. I mean, she's an amazing person.
She's amazing. I think she's also one of the
very experienced.
Cape Town, hey?
Yeah, she was. I think she was the first woman to get the first. Got them a couple years after I did. So I think 2011 she got hers. I was given mine in 2009.
Sure.
So it's been a while, yeah.
You know what? But that's really brilliant, and it just shows you the level of service, and also the specific hotel that you guys would be working at. Obviously, it shows the level of that hotel service that the guest would get. So for all of you who are watching who don't know too much about hospitality or hotels, this is quite an interesting thing to look into. And I've actually put the link for the website that Ryan gave me in his interview today, which is published on my blog. If you just click the link in my bio after this little chat, you can go and find out more about the Les Clefs d'Or organization. Super, super prestigious. And just knowing from working with you, Ryan, you're always friendly with everybody. And like I said, you seem to know everything that's happening in town, and you can recommend spots. And I'm actually wanting to ask you, and I don't know if I can, because you probably have a lot of favorite spots, but do you have a specific restaurant in Cape Town CBD itself that you would list as maybe one of your top 5? Where would you, if a guest said, I want to try something new, something, money's no, budget's not an option, like, it doesn't matter, where would you recommend? I'm putting you in the hot spot.
It's super easy for me. Like I love restaurants. I love eating out. Absolutely, my number 1 restaurant in the city is Kyoto Garden. It's off Kloof Road. It's a traditional Japanese restaurant. So unlike Nobu, which was originally doing Japanese food, they're now doing fusion Japanese. So it's actually Peruvian and Japanese. So it's kind of gone away from the very traditional style, where Kyoto is doing very old school traditional. I mean, from the chopsticks they use to the wasabi, they fly in wasabi roots a couple times a month from Japan via courier.
Okay, wow.
You're not getting that sort of powdered wasabi which everyone uses. They're
Yeah.
actually getting the real and they're gracing it on the plate for you. And that's just a different level of operation. So by far and away, the service, the food, it's spectacular. It's very small, but incredible.
Are you a sushi guy?
Yeah, I love sushi, but it's more the Japanese food and the Japanese whiskey. I'm a big fan of, and they have an amazing selection.
Whiskey. Oh, I thought I didn't know.
Whiskey is very, very good, and they have a wonderful selection of all of it. So.
Thank you for that tip. I'm not a drinker. I know one of my favorite restaurants in Kloof Street is what's that Thai place, Yindi's?
It's very nice. Very, very good. I mean, it's probably the best one in the city. It's very consistent. You know, it's a little more sort of homely, more sort of neighborhood restaurant, which I like. I don't always love the high end. You want to have, you know, a nice range of places, but it's very consistent. We send guests there all the time. All we used to when we had guests. So we hope to again.
Yes, we must. And talking about that, so now, I mean, I'm also working for hotels full time, and I've also been home for a few months now. Do you have any idea when Table Bay is going to be opening up? Are they open for the business travel right now?
At the moment, no, but you know, we are putting in place, you know, all the protocols for safety and hygiene. You know, we should be doing on-site training in a couple of weeks, and hopefully, you know, within a month we should be opening again.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. It's tricky. There's a lot of, you know, you obviously are aware, a lot of the 5-star hotels in the city are, you know, geared mostly towards international clients. So you know, we struggle, you know, with the local markets, but that's our challenge as a group, as a country, as an industry, is to, you know, realign our expectations in terms of our markets.
Yeah.
We can't only go after, you know, the international travelers. We need to be doing more for locals, and that's obviously something that's everyone is going to focus a lot more on. And that's great for locals, great for the regular people. You know, if we want to travel, you know, I can probably stay at a nice hotel in the Winelands, whereas before I probably couldn't afford it. So everyone's going to have to readjust their expectations, I think.
That's probably the one thing I'm looking forward to as well. I've noticed, I've been keeping my eye like on Travel Start and online, and I've seen some incredible offers. A game driver states, I think, I can't remember if it was Timbavati or somewhere, and usually like at a 5-star game lodge, you know what you'd be paying per night, never mind the game drive, never mind the meals, and they were offering something like, I think it was 2,900 Rand per person, and you could hire the villa or whatever for 6 people and include all meals per day plus 2 game drives. And I thought, wow, I'm just keep my finger on the pulse, because like you say, normally I wouldn't be able to afford, unless I'm working for that specific hotel, I probably wouldn't be able to afford the luxury stay. It's going to open, because the market's now opening up for domestic travel. I think December would be a positive thing for us. I don't know if international travel will be open yet, but we are going to have to relook at our rates just for the local market and look at, you know, other ways of doing things. Like you say, the 5-star hotels and most of the hotels that are quite high class, only the internationals could afford. Yeah. So we have to relook at us.
It's a tricky one. You know, I think what you don't want to do, and what you obviously understand, you know, I mean, sort of sales and marketing, is you can't undervalue your product. So we can't say, okay, we're going to put in rates like a City Lodge, for example. Now that's not feasible for a hotel about our or your caliber. What we need to do though is we need to sort of go down as you know, literally covering the costs, make a little bit on top, and get sort of people in, because what that will do is you get regular business. They in the future will then pay slightly higher rates when you start moving back to a normal sort of state again. But it's definitely going to be a good sort of 6 months at least of local business focus before we can.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
we have to look at driving more. Sorry, I cut you off. You said it's going to be 6 months.
Well, I would imagine, I mean, 3 to 6 months of focusing only on locals before it turns. I mean, if the border's open, that doesn't mean automatically that everyone's going to start coming back.
For sure.
Travel. So let's say our borders open in a month's time, which I don't think they will. You're not going to have an influx immediately. It's going to take a while. You know, people will start to travel, see how it is, safety and everything else, and then start planning. But people plan, you know, 6 to 8 months ahead. So we'll probably get business for the future. Yeah, that's a good idea. So we're just hopeful, I guess.
Okay. I mean, we have to start thinking about, as hoteliers, start adding value for the locals. And I know you can't, like you, I 100% agree with you, you can't make your rates too cheap, because then you're diluting your own rates and you kind of not, you can't. Your brand is your brand, and you need to value what you're giving. And then it's harder to bounce back if you start giving like a 2-star hotel, rate. So I think
you're not going to sort of take 5-star hotel sort of experience, which of course is not just, people think of a hotel as, it's just a room.
no,
It's
it's not.
value, it's the staffing, it's the experience, it's all the facilities, all the amenities. That whole package is giving you a 5-star rate. Now, if your alternative is to take stuff away from the experience, but then you're not a 5-star hotel anymore, or you're not giving a 5-star experience. That's not an option. None of us are thinking, okay, well, we'll drop our stars to get more local business. That's not a good business model. I mean, I don't run any business, but I would imagine that's the worst thing, and that's the last thing people are going to think of doing. So.
Yeah, look, in my humble opinion, I totally think if we add value adds, and I think the properties that are selling vouchers right now, or the book now, stay later, is a really good route to go, because you're still getting some income in, and you're also securing loyalty for later on down the line. And even those hotels that are offering, or even guest houses or B&Bs that are offering, the pay 2, stay 3, I think that's also another good route to go. And adding value, including like this game lodge that included the meals and a game drive. Those are things that do actually cost money. They do add value, and like you say, it enhances the experience for the guest. It's not just like, okay, we're going to drop the rate, make it super cheap, because then what are you getting?
Exactly. I mean, it's important that people remember the experience that you're giving is what people expect you to give. So you can't step away from that. You can't say, okay, well, this is not our markets anymore. We're popular for a reason, and we need to hold on to those core values. And giving extra value in, if you give an opt-in tea, for example, or maybe airport transfer, just that bundled in value is always going to make a difference. And that's sort of where, maybe the cost for us are not going up so much, but the perceived value to the potential guest is much greater.
Yes,
so that's
exactly.
The fine balancing act that's obviously the big bosses need to kind of work on. So yeah.
All about the experience. That's what I loved about the Table Bay. I must just say, going back to when I was working there, I mean, I remember fondly coming in, and obviously sales, we had the side entrance for next to the main entrance for employees, but you always have to take the same path as the guest to get there. That juggling act between holding my heels and my laptop bag and my handbag. And I remember there was a chap at the front door called Roderick, an Indian chap. I don't know if he still works there.
No, he left a couple years ago, but yeah, duty manager, everyone knew him, wonderful guy, very personable.
Very personable, very friendly. They always remembered my name. Obviously, I worked there, but when they greeted guests at the door, and this is what I loved about that hotel, they would remember the frequent guests and greet them by name, like, welcome back, so-and-so, or Mr. So-and-so, and it just made you feel more welcoming. And even me who worked there, I mean, Roderick often used to offer to help carry my flippin' briefcase, and I used to say to him, hey, like, I work here, it's fine. And he would be like, no, but your hands off, or let me help you. And that service alone, I mean, you can't put a price on that. That value that you're getting, you really just can't. Even I know Chef Bobby doesn't work there anymore, but Chef Bobby was amazing as well with the oh, you disappeared.
Oh, sorry.
Hello. Screen's gone blank.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
Uh-oh, technical issues. Maybe touch the reverse. At the bottom of the screen, there's 2 arrows in a circle. Maybe you've reversed the camera. There we go. Welcome back.
The screen was giving me a funny little image or something, so.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
awesome.
So that's exactly what people go to a hotel for. It doesn't have to be 5-star, but you want good service. You want to be recognized. I mean, what I was going to say before my technical issue is, Cape Town. Even I understand good service from my training. I mean, I've only ever worked in hotels like 21 years now. I've only ever worked in that industry around excellent service and perfection and all that rest of it. You go around Cape Town to the waterfront stores, for example, unless you're going to Louis Vuitton or Hugo Boss or those kind of stores, the level of service people are offering in the city is shocking sometimes. That's why working in a 5-star hotel, if you giving amazing service, we have guests that live in the city that come just for tea, like once a week. It's a lot more expensive than going home for tea, but you're coming for the experience and for the service and the way that you're made to feel, and that's so important. And that's what we try. I mean, our biggest spend and our biggest sort of use of time in training is done on customer service, because it's the most important aspect of our industry. You have to
100%.
retain it because people are so used to shoddy service. I see it online all the time. It's the easiest thing. I tell my staff and my bosses all the time. You have complaints from guests for two reasons. The first reason is not enough training, or insufficient training and insufficient staffing. Simple.
Yeah.
Two simplest things and the two simplest things to fix and the cheapest things to fix. Put more staff on, train them better.
Yeah.
Easy. But that's what people don't do. Like they'll find a pretty handsome staff in the store, but you don't train them enough. They look like a Hugo Boss model, but you don't train them on the products, and that's where people fail.
Yeah,
it's so easy to get right, but so easy to get wrong as well, apparently.
Because even if you don't have enough staff, like you said, if you have insufficient staff, that can be overcome by excellent customer service. Yeah. So, the customer might be disgruntled because there's not enough cashiers or there's not enough concierges or not enough, but all you need is just that one person to just step out of their comfort zone and just be like, can I help you? Yes, this isn't my job. I'm not a GC manager or I'm not a concierge, but can I help you? Because I've
done that loads. I see sort of someone, shouting at, in the lounge, and then they're waiting for someone to come, and I go and talk to them. Have you seen this new thing, or what about this? And you sort of you can ease them down.
Yes.
It's so simple to do, but I think you have to have that personal attitude of wanting to make a difference, and that's what hospitality is. It's all about. You can be trained in all the procedures, but you have to have a natural instinct to want to help people and be selfless in the way you give service.
Totally. And you shouldn't, in my opinion, I feel like you shouldn't go into hospitality as a career, regardless whether you wait staff, barman, doesn't matter what position, housekeeping, front desk, back of house. If you're not passionate about people, then this is not the industry for you. I find nothing worse. I don't know if you do it, but when I go to other properties that are not in the brand that I'm working for, I subconsciously do comparison notes like, our guys wouldn't do that, or our guys wouldn't do this, or the room would look like this, or I wouldn't wait so long for my coffee, or I just, in my head, I do like little comparisons. And it's a bad habit, but then you can also tell.
But this also comes naturally to you because that's kind of what we've been trained to do, is you're observing everything. And for the most part, people are doing a fine job. But you'll pick up on a lot more things than the general person would, I guess.
I totally cringe, hey, right? When I'm sitting in a place and I'm waiting for a waiter or whatever, and they're on their cell phone or they're chatting to someone, but they can see you sitting there waiting for an order, and it just kills me. And sometimes it's like a luxury place, like it's a 4-star or 5-star place, and you're like, your cup of coffee is like $40. I could get a cheaper one at Mike and Bean, and you sitting there chatting to your buddy, like, no, where's the service? And I don't know if that's a South African thing. Are we too laid back? I don't know. Maybe that's a generalization.
It certainly is not just the South African thing. It's what it is. Absolutely is. It's a lack of training, and it's a lack of management presence. Now, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm held to account, being senior management of a certain level of excellence and whatever else. This is what I need to achieve based on who I am, or what my position is. My staff, I've trained, every single one of my staff personally 15 times over the 8 years. They know every single aspect of their job, but getting them to do that job every single day, 50 times a day, is a challenge, and it shouldn't be. But that's not their issue. That's me making sure training is done more regularly, making sure that they are sort of monitored, because some people need to have that sort of, that notice on them. I can work by myself perfectly fine, but other people need a bit more of a, need the stick more than the carrot sometimes.
But then again, it does come down to having the passion for the industry, because if you are really passionate about what you do and then you're not going to need to be prodded all the time. I don't know. That's just how
a lot of people will do our come into our industry because it's it's so broadly done. You can easily be a waiter, you can work in housekeeping, but it's that personal motivation which you need, and not everyone has, of course. And that's any industry much the same, I suppose.
This is true. I think it's been so hard right now for all the, like the hotels that are closed, and the wait staff, and the who else? The housekeeping, and the people that the people that you don't notice behind the scenes, but they work the hardest. my heart bleeds because I'm thinking like, what are they doing during this time to get by? Like, it's been tough. Like, it's been tough for them. I don't know. I mean, you and I, at least, we can do other things. But I certainly actually can't wait. I never thought I'd say this, but I can't wait to get back to work. I miss people. I miss having that, that experience, that customer experience, and just talking to people other than through a Zoom call. I'm over Zoom.
I miss the long hours, missing, family occasions, sore feet, headaches, the body contact, 15, 16-hour shifts, waking up at 3 a.m. for luggage pulls, things that I sort of used to moan about. But now I wish I could sort of do that all again right now. But it's going to come back. So
it is going to come back.
We are positive.
No, we've got to stay positive. What I actually wanted to say, and I forgot, when you mentioned about, we were talking about Chef Bobby, and we were talking about some people coming in for tea. Just the secret between you and me, my mom loves the high tea at Table Bay, and she used to come in quite regularly just for a cup of coffee. She used to know all the servers' names, even the manager on duty. She'd bring my aunt, bring my sister, and just to have coffee and cake and just look at the view. And I mean, not stay over, but just because she knew that, and the people started to get to know her, not as like my mom, like I work there, but just as this regular who used to just be, and people were super friendly with her, so they knew who she was, chat to her. And I think that's what guests like. They like that, like we were talking about value earlier, I just forgot to mention, it's that keeps you coming back. It's that loyalty. And it's difficult now because we have to practice that through our marketing and our social media and keeping that voice alive and keeping it consistent. And that's quite tricky, I think. But we shouldn't stop. Like, we should keep, the companies that stop doing their marketing, and I understand why. You also don't want to broadcast the wrong message, and you also might not particularly have funds for your marketing, but not to be doing it at all, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that, and it's, I think it's one of those things when you're in sort of business, trouble. What are the first things that you cut? First staffing, because it's easiest. I mean, it's the cruelest thing to do, of course, because it's a person with, a home and family and everything else. But that's the first thing to look at. The second thing is marketing spend.
Yeah.
How do you expect to sort of compete and achieve in the future when you are not broadcasting your services to everybody else? And that's a fine line. I mean, you again would know more about how that works than I do. But I know with the competitiveness that's going to be in the future, you can't afford to be, sort of second page of Google. Someone's third or fourth choice. You've got to be as top of people's minds as you can, and that's what marketing's going to do for you.
Totally, keep those wheels turning. Now, I have a few questions.
You were sort of top 5 hotels in the country before doesn't mean you're going to be in the future. It's an ongoing challenge for everybody.
Exactly. I've seen some really clever campaigns incorporating lockdown, not just in our industry, but across the board, different industries, that bring in the hand sanitizer, they bring in the social distancing. Very cleverly done. And yeah, like you said, if we stay positive, see the positive side of the situation and speak to people through that voice, but still keep the brand alive, I think that'll help a lot, because the clever ads right now are the ones we're going to remember after lockdown.
Yeah.
Rather than the ones that have kept quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some more questions for you. Now, what I didn't ask you in the interview was, I don't know if you can remember, or if you've had more than one, what was your best customer experience moment?
Honestly, I can't think of one. It's as I mentioned, 21 years of 5-star hotels. I've only ever done this job, and I've only ever worked in either concierge or a front-facing area where I've had experiences with people. So, from finding guest luggage when it's gone missing. I mean, a couple months before lockdown, I found this family with 2 little twin girls. She left her a stuffed crocodile in one of the taxis. And she didn't then know what taxi it was, and after like 6 hours, we got it back for her. That kind of thing, it's small. It's always the simple things which you don't think it's that big a deal, But to a customer, to a client, to a guest, it makes all the difference for them. But there's hundreds and thousands of examples. I can't think of one specifically. Our job is. I'm sorry.
Sorry. How did you get the crocodile back from a taxi, and how did you know which taxi it was? I mean, wow, that's service, right?
We have very good cameras. So we did sort of license plate check, and I have someone in the traffic department to manage to get me a phone number and an address. So.
See, he does know everybody in Cape Town. No jokes.
What I was going to say earlier when you're talking about me knowing all the things. It's not me trying to boast things, but my job is to know stuff. People say, oh, everything. Like, I'm employed to be that person. If I was employed as a chef, you'd expect me to cook amazing food and do budgets and things. That's not my job. My job is to know as much as I can about everything, and that's just me doing my job. I'm no better a person than anybody else, probably worse of a person. But my job is to know those things. So every single restaurant, bar, club, wine estate, directions to all the places, that's my job. People who can do certain things, and if you want to buy something, get something done, whatever it is, that's all my job is. So it's just me doing my job, really. So.
Doing your job really well.
Thank you.
And no, you're welcome. And can you tell us maybe what your worst experience is? You don't have to name and shame, but I'm sure you can probably remember one or two bad experiences where it couldn't go right no matter what you tried. It was, that was it.
What it is, I find that every customer experience it's either going to start off on the right foot or it's going to start off on the wrong foot. Guests will arrive with us. If they've had a great, if they've had a great journey to us, they arrive in a happy mood. If they've been delayed and luggage has been lost, sometimes I have guests that had luggage lost for a 5-day stay, and the luggage never ever got back to them. Things like that. So they'll come in unhappy. Every single, from being around the hotel, when things start badly, every single thing that can go wrong will go wrong. They'll arrive. There were 5 receptionists, and 10 minutes ago they were all free. 5 minutes later, 2 have gone on lunch and the desk is full. There's a line. Then he'll complain, and then his key won't work in the door, and then the taxi will be late, or they'll have a bad experience, in one of the restaurants or on a tour. So it's just one of those things where it's going to go right or it's going to go wrong, and it's all about how you react to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I've been sworn at 10,000 times. I had a few times people trying to reach out there to kind of grab you to punch me for something again that we haven't done. Just their frustrations sort of manifest in a physical way, and again they'll come to apologize the next day or later, knowing that it's not my fault, and I try to help. But and that's human nature. I mean, I've not always been as level-headed as I should have been with maybe my staff or in a situation, and that's true for we're human, so we learn, we make mistakes.
For sure. No, and you have to have that kind of an even-keel disposition to deal with customers and not take it personally.
So I have some of my newest staff, like the porters. Now, they obviously not quite as experienced in the industry. They'll say, no, you can't say that to me. And they want to sort of, swear back at a guest or try to hit them. They will try to fight. And obviously it hasn't happened, but you have to have the right attitude, the right mindset. You can't go in sort of confrontational, because that's a lose-lose situation for everybody. You will get fired for sure, and the guests will carry on with their stay. So it's a mindset thing for sure, and it's a tricky thing to balance. But 99% of the issues that you'll have, and I've had my experience, I've done nothing wrong. Maybe my staff have, or they've had an issue with a vehicle or a taxi, their flights and external restaurants, something's gone wrong, and they're just venting at you. So you train to deal with that attitude, that anger, whatever it is, frustration, and sort of cool it down and carry on, and that's it.
Yeah, very often I find
that simpler than it sounds sometimes, of course.
It sounds much simpler than it is, y'all. I've also had customers been quite rude or whatever, and sometimes, like you say, it's not your fault, and they just want someone to listen to them. Just give them your time to listen, and so let them get off their chest about the delayed flights and the lost luggage, and you can only control as much as what is in your power to control. So it's tough industry, I think people don't realize often they see the glamour and the glitz side of things, like, oh, you work at a posh 5-star hotel, and you're like, but you don't see your day-to-day, what you actually go through.
Yeah,
so
it's glitzy and glamorous when we have celebrities to stay. We had, I was at the hotel just a year when Obama came to stay. You obviously were still there, I think.
That was I was the salesperson who brought it in.
Oh, really?
Sorry. Thank you.
And that was, I've got a couple little shoeboxes of mementos for all of my years in the hotel. And I've got, badges from the Secret Service, a certificate from the White House security, all these little things. There are a lot of glamorous parts to it, but it's honestly of a, looking on a scale, like 10% is glamorous, the rest is, hard slog. But, that's
the nature of the game, and you're passionate about what you do, and you realize that it can't be, even celebrities don't have it rosy 100% of the time. Even they've got to do some real work, that we don't get to see scenes without the makeup on, without anything. So I think
I've seen them in that side as well.
You have?
Makeup really does do miracles to some people, goodness. Wow.
And great lighting. And today I've got a different lighting because last week I filmed in my room and it looked like I had bags under my eyes. Now I'm in my living room with the window.
Light it from above, so you're fine.
Yes, and I put it from above because I don't have somewhere to put my phone, man. I've got a selfie stick. I'm very I jimmied it today. You just have to make a plan. So, and what I wanted to ask you, in your interview actually, you said, when I asked you how did you discover your calling, you didn't quite elaborate. You said you were 12. So what was the light bulb moment when you were 12 that you decided, hotels, this is it for me?
Yeah, super easy. So I was very lucky. My family or my parents traveled very extensively when we were young, up until we were about sort of 16, 17. And we got to travel with them, most holidays. So when we would go on holiday, it wasn't sort of, around the country, it was international. So, and I've seen probably 50 countries.
Wow.
And most are staying in private hotels. Most of them will have a concierge and installations and that sort of thing. So, what you see if you watch a series on a hotel or a movie that has hotels in it, that lifestyle, that experience, that was my childhood growing up. And I see the concierge. I learned from my father. The first thing I tell my guests to do, and my friends and my family, and what I learned, the first thing when you go into a 5-star hotel in a new city or a new country, the first place you go to, you don't go to check-in, you go straight to the concierge. They'll tell you everything you need to know, honestly and sort of concisely.
Yes.
So I had that sort of, I'm good with people, I'm good at, sort of that sort of thing. What is that position for me? And, slowly over time, I knew that concierge was what I wanted to do.
So was your dad a concierge?
No. He was a business traveler, but he would travel, I don't know, like 40 weeks out of the year.
Wow, but then you guys go along with him.
Yeah.
Lucky man, gosh. Wow, that's awesome.
So very, very lucky, very privileged. I had an amazing young upbringing,
So that's nice. So you got to experience that. So that's what intrigued you. Okay, that's fantastic. I fell into hotels by accident, actually. I had
happens to a lot of people, I think.
Sorry?
I think the training of what we go through it's a really good experience for anything. If you've done sort of basic hotel management, you set up for a lot of industries. It helps you handle pressure amazingly well, better than any other industry I can think of.
For sure.
Also, the fact that you have to be sort of selfless and you can't sort of speak back to people, it's not a nice thing to have someone shout at you. But if you go to work as an architect, to work in a bank or something, you can handle conflicts a lot better because you're taught not to take things personally. Unless I've of course made mistakes and had people shout at me and it's been my fault. But most of the time it isn't, and you can sort of just justify those feelings. So okay, it's not me, it's someone else, and you'll be fine in a couple minutes or an hour or something. So it's not that big a deal.
It's great when you have those soft skills in the first place, though, coming back to not only having a passion for tourism and hospitality, but it's also, they say you have to have the character, like you just said now, you have to have the character and the personality to want to work in the industry. And it's funny, no matter how many times people try and leave hospitality, I know, I'm speaking of myself, because I try to leave and go into advertising and go into just marketing.
Come back again.
You miss it. You miss the people, and you miss the connections and the drive and the different sort of pressures. It's different to any other industry. And they say, like, people who work in hospitality are made for hospitality, and no matter where you go or how far you go, you'll always come back, even if you try to leave. And so weird, because when I was younger, I didn't do training, go to hospitality school, any of that. I took a gap year and went to London when I was 19, and I fell into my first hotel. I was temping, and then I applied for a job, and this hotel was such good groundwork for me. It was a 3-star hotel, but the manager, there wasn't a lot of us, and he used to just move us around. So I had an opportunity to work at front desk. I had an opportunity to hostess. I had an opportunity to work at the bar. I had an opportunity to work in the back. So from an operations perspective, I just learned so much from others there. And that was like a stepping stone to then my next hotel job, and so on and so forth. And during lockdown, I've actually been very privileged on the positive side to have the time when I finally did my hospitality and tourism management training online. Yay!
Oh, wow.
I've done the course, finished. Now I can say I did study, official now.
Amazing. Well done.
That's 20 years of training at the hospitality school of life. So,
but also like your practical training, a lot of people do theory first, then practical. I mean, mine was put together. But I mean, you've got the practical. I mean, the theory will become a lot easier then, because you know how things work. You don't need to sort of sit in the classroom first, and you've done all the the hard already.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been very privileged to work at some great hotels, like with yourself at Table Bay, and it's so weird how when you get used to working at a certain level, you become accustomed to that, and you that. I do miss that. I'm not going to lie. This lockdown has been a little lonely, a little stressful, but not in the people stressful sense, in the lack thereof.
Oh yeah, you miss it. I mean, I miss the pressure and the stress, hugely. I think, for myself, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks sort of vacation or a break is all that anyone needs. I mean, honestly, after a week, I'm going to get back to work now. But, sort of physically, mentally, excuse me, 2 or 3 weeks, more than enough. And I'm, honestly cannot wait to, that first morning to go back to work. And also to feel like I have a purpose. Like at the moment, I'm sort of waking up, trying to keep busy, having lunch, trying to keep busy, having dinner, go to bed. I'm missing that sort of sense of purpose and service, really. I'm missing people.
You and I both, right? So tell me though, in the interview you mentioned, other than being a concierge, you have a love of sneakers and watches, and what else did you say here? You said sneakers, watches, and something else. So I wanted to ask you if you have maybe a blog or a side Instagram account or something like that, where at least now during this time you can foster your passion for those things to keep you busy, or not really?
Well, so my Instagram, I do tend to post on Instagram. It's mostly, shots at restaurants, like sort of food shots. It's sneakers and it's watches. So that's pretty much all shots from the hotel. Of views, because the hotel is an amazing location.
Yes,
that's pretty much my Instagram. I don't have a blog. I mean, I have a blog that's sort of in mothballs, which I started years and years ago. I wrote about 9 or 10 posts, which were very well received, very interesting, but I kind of lost steam and I just couldn't think of anything else to add to it. But I enjoyed it. I wrote really well, and it was interesting for people to read. But there's a lot of things that I've expressed that I can't. Like if I told you a story but changed the name, it's like a thing. If I said Oprah Winfrey did this thing, or that person did that thing, then it's like, oh, If I said, John Smith, actually not, like let's say in a non-significant John Smith, like a person did this thing, okay, it's nice. So yes, there's things that I would love to share more, but there's obviously things I can't really share, and that's kind of takes away from the special nature of the story, really.
No, I get you. But you're quite active on Twitter. So, I mean, maybe you can create a hashtag, like hashtag Ask Concierge Ryan or something. I don't know. Do you have
what I have done in the future, and in the past, and I'll do in the future, is I do a hashtag called Concierge. I've done a couple of different ones, like Concierge Tales, you know, like what I see I could work, or you know, Concierge saw this thing. You know, people being, you know, rude in public, or you know, some funny thing I saw, or a cute experience that was had. So I'm trying to give a little bit of an insight to work. But again, you know, what we do is quite confidential. I can't sort of say too much stuff, and I can't sort of be too specific. So again, you know, telling an experience, it's got to be the right story that'll be interesting, no matter who it was, not just if a celebrity or, you know, famous person said or did something.
Well, a picture's worth 1,000 words, hey, right? Just throw in a GIF or throw in a meme, and that's fine. You don't know names, don't disclose anything. Just, you know, give us a picture. We'll look out for them.
Always, I mean, people on Twitter love to get those sort of insights, you know, behind the scenes or what goes on. So certainly we'll be doing more of that when we're able.
That's going to be exciting. I'll be looking out for those. I remember when I first started Twitter, actually, yeah, your Twitter account was already starting. I was always in awe, like, how does he keep up with all this tweets and stuff? And KK, I don't know if you remember KK Caletso, who used to do PR. So she was the one that actually taught me how to create a Twitter account. And I don't know if you remember.
It's a little tricky at first. You kind of, you know, the way it was originally marketed is sort of like, you know, it's like almost like a diary. You're just putting out thoughts. So it's kind of like with Facebook. If you look at your posts from, you know, when Facebook first started, when you got onto Facebook, no one knew how to, you know, put your status updates and things. It's very cringy looking back, you know, sort of 10, 12, whatever, how many years it's been. But Twitter was the same. We didn't know how to use it properly, so you stumble through it, and eventually I started my account, and a year later started using it properly, and now, sort of 11 years later, it's sort of, you know, I know what I'm doing. You know, made all the mistakes that everyone tends to make, and you kind of move on from there.
No, you're doing well. I've actually taken a backseat from Twitter. I'm trying to.
I struggle to keep up with it because of work hours, and I obviously can't do it while I'm at work. But now that I've been home for, you know, 655 days,
and counting,
that's all I'm doing. You know, I'm seeing every single tweet I'm seeing. So you get sort of more engaging with it when you have time.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do. And like, there's a travel community that I'm a part of, and I try to, I've got lists for travel tweets so that I don't lose track. So just that I'm honed in on that. There's also a lot of negativity. There's a lot of trolls on Twitter, and there's a lot of negativity, which kind of put me off for a year or so, because I just thought, I don't know these people, and it can have quite a negative effect on your psyche if you're just seeing all these threads with bad things. So, and also with Corona now, I mean, I don't even watch the news, because all you see in the news, and it irks me a little bit, you see the number of deaths, the tolls rising, and all of this nonsense. It is terrible, but where's the positivity? Like the number of cases of people that recovered in the country. Why are you not reporting on that? I mean, it's there somewhere in the fine print if you scroll down to paragraph 100, which nobody does. So I've turned off the TV. I don't do news. I limit myself to Twitter. I must confess I'm an Instagram addict. I'm very guilty of that. I'd rather look at pretty pictures of destinations that I wish to go to, bucket list, after the lockdown stuff, and chat to interesting guys like yourself and share it with my followers. This is a long time coming, actually. I've meant to have this series for the last 2 years. I've been thinking about it, and I just never had the time. And the lockdown's been great because I've been able to do that. So, yeah, thank you so much for saying.
All of us sort of chance to be like innovative with our time, with our energies. It's great. So I'm glad to have been a part of it. What I just want to add quickly, if you don't mind, is about Twitter. You know, I see a lot of people sort of, you know, sort of going, oh, it's such a mean place and there's trolls, and of course that is the case, and I know for sure. Excuse me. It's a lot worse for women, because unfortunately in this country, it's, you know, women get a very bad experience in every single aspect of our life. What I do try to tell people is, you know, if you obviously it's not much about personal attacks on people, but if you're finding that you're seeing a lot of sort of, you know, unsavory behavior and actions and things, think of it, how would you deal with that in real life? If you have a circle of friends and one of them is a little bit racist or a little bit this, you would call them out on it, and remove yourself from that. You wouldn't sort of, move from that table of people sitting having drinks, or, don't see that family member anymore. Social media is exactly the same. If you're finding that you're seeing things you shouldn't be seeing, unfollow those people, mute those hashtags, mute those people. It's a lot easier to do that on social media than it is in real life, I think. So doing social media is like, oh, I'm quitting social media because it's too toxic.
Yeah.
If it's toxic, then why limit yourself to, I'm going to take myself away from this experience, but you can improve it for yourself. You say, okay, these people are toxic. Why am I following them?
True.
You shouldn't be following them. You wouldn't follow them in real life, so don't follow them on social media. If you're seeing stuff on Facebook or on Instagram that doesn't appeal to you, you don't follow it. The same thing on Twitter. It's a tricky concept. Of course, it doesn't work in every situation. But you have to be surrounded by, toxic people, mean people.
Sure.
It's easier to rid yourself of that because you don't. I mean, I know 40% of my Twitter followers. I've met 10%. If I unfollow them, I don't care.
Yeah.
They unfollow me. It also doesn't make a difference in my life. But it's more about how are you keeping mentally healthy online. There's ways of doing that don't necessarily need you to leave that network. I mean, you wouldn't go off Instagram because of a certain issue. You would take steps to protect yourself. Say, block your DMs, because unfortunately, there's people that will always be, morons.
For sure.
But you can protect yourself and keep yourself a little more secure in that way.
I haven't deleted my Twitter. I'm still there. I've just limited the amount of time I spend on Twitter. I used to, because when I left Silver, obviously I was freelancing and I was working for myself, and I used to be quite big on obviously promoting my skills and that on all the platforms. I find Twitter's like a rabbit hole. You start with one tweet and then 4 hours later you are still on there, completely unrelated.
I find it, of all the networks, it's one that I use the most just because my access to information, access to information for me is the most valuable thing. I know exactly when, traffic's, there's an accident on the highways, or restaurants are opening or closing, or chefs moving, instant information sharing is best for me. Facebook, I absolutely don't use because it's too much nonsense in there. Instagram, I love because they get pretty pictures and things. But you got to find what's valuable to you and what's important in your area of expertise, I suppose.
And also safeguard yourself, like you were saying. Not maybe deleting your profile or whatever isn't the answer, but safeguarding yourself. And it's not just Twitter. Maybe it's just because I've had a bad experience with Twitter with trolls and fake profiles. Like, I've had stalkers, but you get that on any platform, and you could distance yourself from who you think is the troll or the bad person, and they can just create another
thing. And the other thing, of course, is that you don't want to tell people, don't share, stuff on social media, because that's their own choice to do.
For sure.
There's a lot of oversharing of information, and that's, again, will lead to people, would have bad intentions to trolling them. I see people that will basically use as their diary. Every single thought they have goes down there. Every single, and it's fine if that's a cathartic thing for them, and that's sort of how they wish to use it. That's what it's there for. It's their own personal sort of diary online. But you've got to understand that the world has a lot of bad people, which we know, and they take advantage of things and people, and they find joy in pushing people down, and it's terrible and shocking, and there should be better ways of controlling it. But one way of doing it is not to,
feed into it.
With everything out there.
Yeah, they call them keyboard ninjas, Ryan? I've heard that term, keyboard ninjas, where they say whatever they want to say behind the safety of their screen, but it's not necessarily things you'd say in real life to a person.
It's normally sort of people that have less than 100 followers. You think they just started their account last week. They don't know what's going on, and it's normally the worst, the worst racists, the worst sort of bigots. It's all that kind of pretty profiles that don't have sort of the balls to sort of say these things, in person. So they kind of hide behind keyboards. This is what I feel, and that's unfortunately our modern social media world. So
that's sad, but is there anything else you want to add? Oh, is there anything before we go? Is there anything new about the Table Bay? We have 25 seconds remaining. I don't know why it's giving us this. The first time I've seen is kicking us off. This is like the Oscars. 20 seconds. So maybe we should say our goodbyes. But if you want to say if there's anything new quickly, 10 seconds coming up.
Nothing I'm aware of. Just be very excited to open again. Hopefully very soon, and look forward to seeing you and all our guests in the future.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Manly men.